out of an ED?
So we'll, in fact, Dhruv, that is the topic, the next one we're going to talk about, which is we're going to talk about early action versus early decision. Okay, so for example, early decision is binding, okay, which means if you accept early decision, you are expected to, you are committed, you are contractually bound by that school to to not accept any of the school and get rid of all the other applications. And if you don't do that, a lot of bad things can happen. So your own school will be after your tail to make that happen. It's binding. We'll talk about what restrictive early action is, REA. We'll talk about early action, which is non-restrictive. We'll talk about non-binding. These are, again, I didn't do a good job of understanding these things early on, and it bit us, okay? So these are the 5 things you're going to see. One other, you have non-restrictive and restrictive, okay? Early decision is restrictive and restrict early action, which REA is mostly for these hotshot schools where, like, share what is REA? It is for Harvard and all these consortium of these big guys, right? These 2-3 schools are, Ivies have it, right?
Yeah, it's Stanford, Harvard, Yale, Princeton. Yeah, it's mostly the Ivies and like Stanford and stuff.
So these Ivies will basically tell you you can't apply, you can only apply to one of them, and in their restrictive REA.
One of them early, and that's also it's only one private school, so you can still technically apply to public schools early if they have that option.
Yeah, you can do EAs, multiple EAs. Like I said, EA is not binding. You can do multiple EAs. Your RD, regular decision, is obviously not binding, as same as rolling admissions.
Yeah, but you cannot EA anywhere else if you have an REA. Like this, you cannot EA to any private university if you have an REA.
No, hold on. You can't EA to one of those smart ass schools, those 5 elite schools. If you want to EA to somebody else, like it's restrictive amongst those 5 schools. I mean, check about it and come back to us. Let us know about it. But my understanding of REA is it's only to that block of 7 or 8 schools. You can only apply to one of them, and that's it.
Well, all my friends who did an REA said that they weren't allowed to apply to any private school. Like, that was EA. So, like, if you wanted to, for example, you wanted to do an EA at MIT, and then you wanted to do an REA at Harvard, you couldn't do that.
Well, but that's probably because MIT and Harvard are part of the consortium together. But if you're doing an EA at
it just says it's however, if you apply restrictive early action, you may not apply to any other schools in the early rounds, including EAs.
Okay, all right. To me, it's such an elitist thing. I mean, just at a fundamental level, I'm opposed to that concept. But anyway.
Exactly. It's basically an ED, except the idea with an REA is that you get to accept it until May 1st. So you, like an ED, you'll have to accept it by like January, but an REA, you'll have to accept it by like May 1st. So that's the difference between an ED and an REA.
Well, even EAs, you have all the way to 1st of May
Yes, exactly. No, I'm saying the difference between a restrictive REA and an ED, because they sound very similar in the idea.
So technically, if you did an ED to your one school like Wellesley, and you had EA to USC and to Pomona, which you did not, right?
Yeah, so that's
you could have actually gotten the results pretty much at the same time, and you could have been in a decision point at that point. You could have actually gone back to, you don't go back to Wellesley, it said that, but we tried it. We tried telling Wellesley that, hey, we have some other schools we can go to, and they're like, oh, go ahead, make my day. But you have your options, right? If we had some good schools already EA'd out. So that's my point, which is about the ED. If you're going to do an ED, make sure you have 3-4 other EAs ready to go along with that, which will make your parents' life easier. It will save you money down the line. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's really all I have to say about this one. Pros and cons of ED versus EA. Most of you are masters at these things, so I'll just let you read while I'm drinking some water over here. So only thing is about EA, which I was talking to somebody the other day, is, you have all the way to May to make a decision. So reduce your stress. In September itself, apply to some EAs. In fact, I realized some of the EAs, Georgia Tech's EA is, I think, 15th of October. So you would think that all EAs are also in November, but no, there are some EAs which are actually even sooner. Pomona's EA was, I think, earlier as well. So get your deadlines. I mean, your spreadsheet should be very clean. which says the deadline, because you will forget these things and you need your parents. If you're listening on this call, make sure you do this with them. This is the least you can do for them, is help them with, that kind of planning. And this is what I was Shreya's assistant. I was literally her, whatever she needed, I would do for her at that time. That's all I was doing. I think there's some questions that have come out. What is it? See something here. Chat or something.
Yeah. Someone's asking, Radha's asking, what's your opinion on Pacific University, University of Santa Clara, and University of San Jose?
Oh, San Jose University. No.
Wait, do you mean like Santa Clara University or University of Santa Clara? Those are I think those are different schools. So
no, she's talking about San Jose SJSU, Santa Clara University, which is private, and Pacific University is right here, somewhere over here in the Union City area. Pacific is private, as Santa Clara University is private, SJSU is
public.
Is a state school. So. Yeah. So, quite a bit difference. First, SJSU is going to cost you a lot less, a fraction of the money. You might graduate in 5 years. Forget it. You're not going to graduate in 3.5 years, because they will make it very hard. There's so many kids over there. If you're okay with that, many kids are okay with graduating in 4.5 years because they're just waiting to take a few classes which they can't get into. Private schools will not have that problem. Santa Clara, you will graduate. You could graduate in 3.5 years. Like if Shreya plays her cards well at Wellesley, she could graduate in 3.5 years. And you will end up saving a lot of money.
Like on the track to graduate in 3, so yeah.
For 3, honey, you're not going to graduate 3, but 3.5 is doable.
All right.
Is a problem. You mission kids have this thing, you kill yourself, and that's a big problem in general. But anyway, we'll come to that. What is the question? Can we get access to this presentation, honey? No, I can't give you this presentation, but I'm happy to give you notes, and I can get you then on a call with you. So your best shot of this presentation is just screenshot, okay? Whenever you see something being shown over here. Sorry, this is my, this presentation is, I've put a lot of hours in putting it together. So, but there's a video, I'll make the video available to you guys, okay?
And someone's asking, can you please show a sample?
Yeah, I will do that, yeah. So this is the part I want to show you guys, right? But this is the difference between ED applications. You agree to accept, and if they offer you a financial aid, which means that you can very well tell your ED guy or gal, the college, and this is, I'm surprised, most parents don't know and most kids don't know about this. You can tell an ED school very openly this thing that, hey, I don't have the money. I thought you're going to give me a scholarship. I'm going to decline you for that reason. And that's just perfectly fine to say that. They make it a part of the application itself. In fact, if you look at Shreya's letter, you can see this over here. As you know, by signing the ED commitment in applications, you must withdraw to all the other schools once you enroll. Once you to reply to our offer, complete the reply offer, admissions, blah, blah, blah. Send us a $300 check by 5th of Jan 2019. Okay. So what's very important to see is that you can bail out. You don't have to stick with your ED school. So it's an option which I really think everybody should give it a chance. But be very clear, guys, with your parents on this. Shreya and I were not clear about this, and I should have made it very clear that if Wellesley will not give you a merit scholarship, we can't afford the school. But we didn't have this discussion. And one of the things I want to be is very point blank, open about this process, because this is very expensive. 100K for a parent could just wipe out a huge amount of their savings. So just remember those things, okay?